Hello viewers, I am Dr. Wajida Rahman. Today we will discuss a very important and serious issue of domestic violence against women and laws relating to the protection of women from domestic violence in our country. The main objective of this module are to know about domestic violence against women, to know about the impact of domestic violence on marriage institution in India, to know about the laws relating to the protection of women from domestic violence. Let's introduce the topic. Women have consistently been the largest demographic group to experience domestic violence throughout history, and regrettably this upsetting pattern is still present today. The issue of domestic violence has a pervasive impact on women throughout many social strata, irrespective of factors such as age, religion, caste, or socio-economic level. However, it is crucial to acknowledge that domestic violence encompasses more than its correlation with women, since man, children, and elderly person can also be subjected to this type of mistreatment. Instances of domestic violence are widespread across many socio-economic levels and demographic groups. A perpetrator who is a member of the victim's family or close social circle engages in domestic violence against that person. This includes persons who are members of one's direct or extended family, as well as other individuals who have a familial bond. The term domestic violence is frequently used to characterize incidents of violence that transpire within a cohabitation setting involving the offender and the victim. Various forms of domestic violence include elder abuse, child abuse, honor-based abuse such as honor killings, and female genital mutilation, as well as various forms of abuse committed by an intimate relationship. In the present day context, several strategies have been employed to address the societal issue of domestic violence. Governments throughout the globe have taken strong measures to eradicate domestic violence. Furthermore, the media, politicians, and advocacy organizations have exerted substantial influence in increasing public consciousness of domestic violence as a prevalent societal concern. Now we will discuss the protection of women against domestic violence. The legal framework in India pertaining to domestic violence is established by the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. As per the provisions outlined in Section 3 of the aforementioned Act, the definition of domestic violence comprises a broad range of behaviors, including acts, commissions, omissions, or conduct that result in harm, injury, or constitute a threat to the mental or physical well-being and safety of an individual. Furthermore, domestic violence comprises other forms of abuse, harassment or physical harm done to an individual or any people connected to them with the intention of fulfilling an unlawful demand. The major aim of implementing the Domestic Violence Act was to strengthen the protection of women's rights as enshrined in the Constitution, particularly in instances where they experience abuse within the context of the family. This legislation further encompasses and tackles other challenges and concerns that are interconnected with or emerge as a result of such occurrences of mistreatment. On October 26, 2006, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 was enforced by Indian government. The act was passed by Parliament in August 2005 and subsequently obtained presidential approval on September 13, 2005. The introduction of the Domestic Violence Act aimed to strengthen the protection of women's rights as guaranteed by the Constitution, specifically in situations where they experience different types of abuse within the context of their family. The Act also encompasses and tackles additional or ancillary problems and issues that are connected to this main purpose. The subsequent section outlines the fundamental attributes of the Protection from Domestic Violence Act 2005. The legislation seeks to include women who are presently or have previously been engaged in a partnership with the offender, wherein both parties have resided together in a shared domicile and have a familial relationship through biological kinship, marriage, a relationship similar to marriage, or adoption. In addition, the Act also includes provisions on familial relationship among those cohabiting as members of a communal home. The proposed legislation ensures that legal protection is extended to all women regardless of their household relationship, such as being siblings, widows, mothers, unmarried, or cohabiting with the offender. The phrase domestic violence comprises several forms of abuse, including physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, and economic, which may manifest through actual acts of abuse or the existence of threats. This word encompasses the practice of imposing unlawful dowry demands on a woman or her family, which can be seen as a form of harassment. One of the Act's notable clauses concerns the right of women to access safe housing. The statute confers on women the right to remain in the marital or shared domicile, irrespective of their ownership or legal privilege inside the dwelling. The aforementioned claim is protected by the attainment of a residence order which is given by a legal authority. A further aspect of relief offered by the legislation relates to the court's jurisdiction in issuing protective orders. These directives are designed to restrict the perpetrator from participating in or aiding in acts of domestic violence or other designated behaviors. In addition, the orders serve to prohibit the perpetrator from accessing certain locations, such as the victim's workplace or other frequently visited places, as well as from attempting to communicate with the victim. Furthermore, they prevent the perpetrator from isolating shared assets and causing harm to the victim, her relatives, or individuals providing support in the context of the domestic violence situation. The legislation has provisions for the appointment of a protection officers and the engagement of non-governmental organizations, that is the NGOs, to provide comprehensive assistance to women in several domains such as medical assessments, legal aid, safe shelter, and more services as necessary. According to Section 31 of the legislation, the act of the respondent violating a protection order or temporary protection order is classified as a cognizable offence, which entails the possibility of investigation and arrest of the offender without the need for a warrant. Moreover, this violation is characterized by its non-bailable nature, which implies that the respondent is not eligible for release on bail. The potential consequences for committing such a crime encompass the possibility of imprisonment for a maximum duration of 1 year, a monetary penalty of up to 20,000 rupees, or a combination of both. Similarly, the Act seeks to designate the lack of observance or inability to execute obligations by the protection officer as a violation with commensurate consequences. Economic abuse includes depriving the victim of all or any economic or financial resources to which the victim is entitled under any law or custom, whether they are paid by a court order or not, or which the victim needs out of necessity. This includes, but is not limited to, household necessities for the victim and her children, such as Sridhan, property she owns jointly or separately, payment of rent for the shared household, and maintenance. Physical abuse means any act or conduct that is of such a nature as to cause bodily pain, harm, or danger to life, limb, or health, or impair the health or development of the victim, which includes assault, criminal intimidation, criminal force, etc. An aggrieved party, a protection officer, or any authorized representative may file an application to the magistrate seeking one or more remedies as specified in the relevant statute. Before giving any direction pertaining to such an application, it is imperative for the magistrate to thoroughly evaluate any domestic incident report that has been presented to them by either the protection officer or the service provider. The relief being sought may include a request for an order to pay compensation or damages while still allowing the plaintiff to pursue other legal actions. Now let's discuss the judicial interpretation on the subject. The concept of a domestic relationship as defined in section 2 subclause F of the legislation pertains to the association between two persons who presently cohabit or have previously shared a single residence. The establishment of these connections might occur through consanguinity, marriage, a relationship that bears a resemblance to marriage, adoption, or by virtue of family members cohabiting as a joint family unit. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005 recognizes the phrase domestic relationship extends beyond the confines of marriage and includes partnership that share similar characteristics to marriage. The Supreme Court was interpreting the word a relationship in the nature of marriage in the case of D. Velusamy versus D. Pathachayammal. It is worth mentioning that the court expressed disappointment in the fact that the Act does not offer a specific explanation for this phrase. The aforementioned legislation, commonly referred as to the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, introduces a distinction between the legal institution of marriage and partnership that have similarities to marriage. The Act specifies that people engaged in either form of relationship are entitled to enjoy the safeguards and privileges delineated under this legal framework. Hence, the notion of a relationship in the nature of marriage has similarities to that of a common law marriage, where cohabitation without a legal marriage is allowed. In accordance with subsection 1 of section 12 of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, the magistrate possesses the jurisdiction to issue a direction to the respondent mandating the provision of monetary restitution during the course of disposing of an application. The purpose of this compensation is to provide financial coverage for the costs and damages suffered by the affected individual and any dependent children as a result of the occurrence of domestic violence. The provision of monetary relief may cover a range of types of assistance, including financial support for both the affected individual and her dependent children. This may encompass a request for maintenance as per the provisions outlined in section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 or any other relevant legislation presently in force. So, a female individual who has experienced harm or injury whether inside the institution of marriage or in a comparable relationship possesses the right to pursue monetary reparation in accordance with the stipulation outlined in the 2005 legislation. Within the realm of matrimonial unions, women possess the entitlement to pursue financial support in accordance with the stipulation delineated in section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code of 1973. Nevertheless, women engaged in partnerships that resemble marriage are not entitled to seek support under the corresponding section of the Criminal Procedure Code of 1973. However, the Supreme Court continuously tries to interpret the term wife in a comprehensive manner as specified in section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code. In the event that a woman experiences distress, whether within the confines of a legally recognized marriage or in a relationship that bears resemblance to marriage, she possesses the privilege to exercise her entitlements as stipulated by the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. It is important to mention that the legislature has indirectly recognized the view of a living relationship by interpreting relationship in the nature of marriage under the framework of section 2 subclause F of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. The Bombay High Court in the case of Abhijit Vikaset Auti versus State of Maharashtra and another provided an analysis of the interpretation of the meaning of domestic relationship as outlined in clause F of section 2 of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. This concept applies to the interpersonal connection between two persons who either presently cohabit or have previously cohabited in a communal dwelling and are linked via biological kinship, legal matrimony, or a relationship that bears resemblance to matrimony. The Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act of 1956 includes laws related to the supply of maintenance to a legally wedded Hindu women, together with regulations controlling the procedure of adoption. The Hindu Marriage Act of 1955 has legislation about the formalization of marriage ceremonies and regulations relating to the termination of marital unions. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 serves as proof of Parliament's recognition of a relationship in the nature of marriage rather than a mere cohabitation arrangement, marking a significant development. The phrase aggrieved person is validly defined in Section 2, Subclause A of the Domestic Violence Act. It pertains to a female individual who is presently or was formerly involved in a domestic relationship with the respondent. This individual alleges to have encountered an incident of domestic violence perpetrated by the respondent. Therefore, it may be inferred that any woman who is presently or has previously been in a domestic relationship has the entitlement to submit a formal complaint by invoking the applicable regulation specified in the aforementioned legislation. The duration of cohabitation between the petitioner and respondent is not a necessary condition for the requirement that they have resided or previously resided together for a specified duration. It seems that the maintenance claim submitted by a female party against a male individual with whom she shared a significant relationship is deemed legally legitimate and can be prosecuted in accordance with the statutory regulations. In the case of Krishna Bhattacharjee versus Sarathi Chaudhary, the Supreme Court opined that judicial separation ought to be perceived as a provisional suspension of the marital bond as opposed to a complete dissolution of the partnership as observed in divorce proceedings. Domestic relationships involve a range of forms including marital ties such as spouses, daughters-in-law, sisters-in-law, widows, and other familial links. Moreover, familial connections such as those between mothers, sisters, and daughters are regarded as domestic affiliations. Domestic relationships can also emerge via the process of adoption and cohabitation arrangements and cover women who are engaged in bigamous relationships or who are impacted by marriages that are legally illegitimate. The Act aims to tackle the issues faced by women of all age cohorts, irrespective of their marital status. A shared household is defined as a residence in which the aggrieved person or a woman dwells in a domestic relationship, either independently or in the presence of the male against whom the complaint has been filed. It might also indicate a domestic context when a woman has lived in a domestic partnership but has subsequently experienced eviction. Hence, a precise comprehension of the previously indicated definition, which includes the privilege to inhabit a shared household, would entail that the expressions reside or have previously resided comprise the notion of the entitlement to reside. The fundamental objective of this measure is to provide prompt protection to the victim by guaranteeing that she cannot be subjected to eviction from her place of residence. In conclusion, the term domestic violence comprises a broad spectrum of abusive behaviors that take place within a familial context, ranging beyond physical assault to encompass emotional, psychological, sexual, and financial abuse, as well as several other forms of cruelty. The definition provided in Section 3 of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 includes the acts of domestic violence, that is, any act, omission, or commission or conduct of the respondent shall constitute domestic violence in case it, number A, harms or injuries or endangers the health, safety, life, limb, or well-being, whether mental or physical, of the aggrieved person, or tends to do so, and includes causing physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal and emotional abuse, and economic abuse. Or number B, harasses, harms, injures, or endangers the aggrieved person with a view to coerce her or any other person related to her to meet any unlawful demand for any dowry or other property or valuable security. Or number C, has the effect of threatening the aggrieved person or any person related to her by any conduct mentioned in Clause A or Clause B or Clause D, otherwise injures or causes harm, whether physical or mental, to the aggrieved person. The section also defines the meaning of the terms physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal and emotional abuse, and economic abuse. The statement underscores the need to take into account all relevant facts and circumstances when assessing whether the actions, omissions, commissions, or behavior of the respondent may be categorized as domestic violence in accordance with the stipulated provision. This is all for today's lecture. I hope it builds a clear concept of the topic. Thank you very much.